So I want to go over an interesting event that happened to me when so many years I was in the union. So as like, it was a union rep, they would call it. And that was for the Los Angeles Airport Peace Officers Association. And in 2 of those years, I also served as the treasurer. And, during that time, man, there was like hundreds of officers that I defended going through their internal affairs process. And you would see different things, or not even just internal affairs where they could get written up for whatever. So I remember there was a really interesting event that I had one time. And so my captain comes up to me and they were trying to give me, the chief wanted to give me some type of admonishment, but they couldn't explain what it was about. So they couldn't explain the write-up, but they just like, basically they want to put something in my package to shut me up. And so now they give me this form and they want me to sign it. And so I look at the form and I say, I don't understand what you're telling me here, sir. I need you to explain this to me. And I remember Captain, his name was Captain Castro, and he stood there. Okay, we had Captain Castro and we had Chief Walker there. And they dropped this on me, and I remember they had HR in the room too. So they thinking I'm gonna fight with them. Oh, I'm gonna fight with y'all. No, I'm not here to fight with y'all. So I said, what does this document mean? What does this mean, Captain Castro? And he can't explain to me what it means, right? So he's like, Roseanne, the chief says sign the document right there, and you better sign it right now. And if you don't sign it, I'm going to write refused. And I'm going to write refused on that document, and then we're going to file it at that point, okay? So I know, I said, I take a look, he can't explain what it says. Now he's saying either I got to sign it or he's going to write refuse to sign, okay? So what I did is I take a look at it. Now he's refusing to tell me what it is. I know he's wanting me to contract right here. This is a written record. I'm not even gonna say contract. This is a written record. So what I said is, okay, you can't explain what this is. Let me have that. So I took it and I wrote on the document, not refused to sign, but taken for uncertainty for the cause, purpose, and nature of the document. And I said, here you go, Captain Castro. Now I said, sir, I still don't understand the document. So can you explain the document to me now? Now, the next thing I knew is the Peace Officer Bill of Rights is, in order for them to put anything in a peace officer's package, they either have to have a signature or a refusal for a signature on the document. So either you sign it, or normally the commanding officer will initial it, and then he'll write refused on it, and then they can file it into your package. Well, what I do is I gave it back to the captain, and I says, I did not refuse to sign that document, right? I put not refused to sign, but taken for uncertainty for the cause, purpose, or nature of the document. So now he has that. I haven't refused anything, and he can't tell me what it means. So I said, now, sir, if you file that into my package, I'm going to go report that to Internal Affairs, because that will be a violation of my Peace Officer Bill of Rights. And sir, I need you to explain what this document means. So Captain Castro takes the document. They don't know what to do with it, right? So now they're stuck in limbo. So I remember the next step that I did was, now I start going, and I know because anytime they give you a form like that, they're supposed to file it in your package. So the next thing I do is I wait a few days. I wait maybe like 10 days. I go over to the airport personnel, and I look in my package, and we had a LAXPD, file, I remember, and then a personnel file, and that document wasn't in a file. So then what I did, I looked into the policy, and I went to my chain of command, I went to the policy, and in the chain of command it says, if you don't understand anything, or anything is like, you have any questions, you go through your chain of command, and then they're supposed to get you the answer. So then I went to my sergeant and I said, hey, Captain Castro gave me this document the other day, but I don't know where is it at. And it says any type of write-ups like this is supposed to be in our package, so where'd it go? But they didn't want to answer because they didn't know how to answer. So then they didn't want to say it's gone, I guess, but they couldn't say that they filed it into my package. So I don't think they knew what to do. So I know they were talking to the attorney. So then at that point, I remember I filed a grievance that they gave me that document, but they're refusing to tell me where it's at. So then I remember like 3 days later, then they take that document and then they file it into my package. So then I looked in the Peace Officer Bill of Rights, and it says nothing can be in your package unless it's signed, or they got a refusal to sign. Well, the document in there had, all it said was not refused to sign, but taken for uncertainty for the cause, purpose, and nature. I put a highlight around that and said, see, it says not refused to sign. You don't have a signature. And there's nobody on here saying he refused to sign. Because if they say I refuse to sign and say not refuse to sign right above it, what would be wrong with the document? So that was really interesting case, and I ended up winning that grievance. And they had to remove it from my package. So that was an interesting thing that occurred. And kind of like when you understand what they're doing and what they're saying, and I think all the sergeants, lieutenants, and everybody at the chain, I think, was totally confused on that one. But when I understood how, and I understood that they can't even explain what they were trying to write me up for, then so how am I going to understand it? So like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of ease, words to make the fighting cease. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me. Words are stupid, words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Concrete words, abstract words, words to tell you what to do. Words can put you on the run.